Hi, shalom friends. What does riding a bicycle, piloting a plane, horseback riding, and driving a car all have in common? There's more than one answer, but the answer that I will give is they all have an element of control. Whether you're at the seat of with a steering wheel, or you're on a horse, you feel very much that you have a powerful instrument at your hands, and the fact that you could direct it is a very heady feeling. I mean, till today, this idea of let's go for a drive, nowhere in particular, is just it's exhilarating. I have this powerful machine, and I could direct it to go wherever I want to go. Personally, I believe that's the reason why so many people find it uncomfortable, at least in this generation, to go into a robotic type of a taxi, a driverless car. Now, some say because they're worried, but I don't know. People are not worried about going into in an elevator. We're constantly being directed through some type of a computer, an algorithm. So why should we feel so uncomfortable going into a driverless car? I think it's because we're used to driving the car. We have this sense of control, and now being driven is something which we're uncomfortable with. If we did a little bit of a thought experiment, we could perhaps allow ourselves to imagine the relationship between the driver and a car or a bicycle or whatever could perhaps be somewhat compared to the mind controlling the body. We all know the body is a very powerful instrument, and we know that it needs to be directed. And the mind and the consciousness directs the body. When people suffer, God forbid, a panic attack, or when people suffer from some type of an addiction, they know their mind is telling their body, this is not good for you, do not do it, but they do it anyway when the body is out of control. You're driving a car that could get into an accident. And the idea of allowing the car to drive by itself is very different than if you have a panic attack and you're driving a bicycle. The damage is minimal. But if you're piloting a plane, it could be colossal. So we all know that you could ruin yourself, but more often than not, we're part of a greater community. When you ruin yourself in whatever way we're referring to, you also have an effect on so many others. So your loved ones, and then your community, and then the people you work for and with, and so on, everyone is going to be affected. But we all know that a body that's out of control, in a spiritual sense, can be brought back under control through the concept of teshuvah, returning to God. And this is something which is a gift. It comes from above. The concept of it's never too late, it's never impossible, it never has a time expiration. If you wish, you can regain control of your body. You could actually rein in unhealthy desires and concentrate your energies on doing good between man and between man and God. So let's continue with this analogy or parable of the mind controlling the body as a car is being controlled by its driver. Imagine you are on a freeway, 4 lanes perhaps, and you want to switch lanes. if you don't put on a blinker, it's dangerous. Now, of course, if it's very late at night or a deserted stretch of highway, changing lanes without giving notice might not be legal. I'm not sure about that, but it's certainly not dangerous. There's no one behind you. But in the conventional world, where there are cars around you, in front of you, back of you, switching a lane, especially at high speed, is very dangerous. Not only for you, but for the people behind you. And so too, if there's an obstruction up ahead, you begin slowing down, not when you get to the obstruction, because if you slam on the brakes, what happens to the car behind you and the car behind it? You could have a pileup, literally, of hundreds of. But if you simply, gently let people know that you're slowing down, it will have an effect on all of the cars behind you. So let's be a little bit, maybe frivolous. You're a college student, and you were connected to Chabad, who told you, you should really go to Israel for 2 weeks. Okay, so you went through Europe, you spent some time in Spain, and you spent some time traveling, and now you're going to spend 2 weeks in Israel. Well, you go to the Western Wall, and your life changes. Someone invites you for the Sabbath, someone begins to put you on a mitzvah, and they convince you to spend another extra week in a yeshiva, in an institution where you could study more about your tradition. And you like what you hear, and you realize you've been thirsting for this, so you decide to stay for another week and then another month, and you realize that you're changing your life. What would be an intelligent way to convey this to your parents? Put on a blinker. Call them. Write them. Tell them, hi, guess what? I found out that keeping kosher is not as difficult as I used to. I started to keep kosher. Love you, Bob. And then as you enhance your observance of Shabbos, write them. Let them know you're changing lanes. There's nothing more shocking for a parent to see a child who left the States in shorts, long hair, and with tattoos, to come back 1 year later looking like a mortician. Everything is black, a black hat, white shirt, black pants, peyote, he has sideburns, he doesn't shave. I mean, they are completely shocked. And they should be. They don't recognize this child. This child went off on an exit, but he didn't tell anyone that he's slowing down, and he didn't give any notice that he's changing lanes. If you merely let people know, and this is even true about friends and acquaintances. Some people, as they start their journey back to Judaism, they just drop everything around them. And then when they see an acquaintance after a year or two, there's like nothing to talk about, and they're like two different worlds. But truthfully, they still share a love of tennis. They still enjoy discussing books and politics. But the change is so drastic that there's no way that the two can meet. So put on a blinker. Let them know. I'm finding out about certain things. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting a bit more traditional. You want to join me? And so on. So here you are. You're driving. And there's a rest stop. And for some reason or other, you didn't look at the tank. And you go, and there's a big sign that says, next rest stop 60 miles from here. And you realize that you're almost on empty. And you also realize that your bladder is full. And you're stuck. I got to wait an hour or 45 minutes. And if there's some type of delay, an impossible. And one thing you don't want to be is stuck between somewhere and somewhere, nowhere. Because that means by the time AAA finds you on the freeway, half the night and part of the day will pass. Now you're looking at the other side of the road and they're going the opposite direction, and you're thinking to yourself, I wish I could just make a U-turn. And then I'll just get back to the exit that I just passed less than 5 minutes ago. What's the problem? No U-turns allowed. Aha! But here, Judaism kicks in. Judaism says U-turns are allowed and encouraged. No person is stuck on the outside lane. You don't have to wait for another rest stop, for another opportunity. You have a thought to do good, do it. You say, but 1 second. You just told me a minute ago I should let people know that I'm changing my life. Yeah, I still say that. I think it's worthwhile. But that's when you don't have to make an immediate U-turn. But when sometimes you feel the pressing need, then U-turns are encouraged. This month, the month of Elul, 4 weeks before the new year, for some of us, all we have to do is put on a blinker. You know, we've been going a little bit too much to the extreme. We'd like to go a little bit closer, to add a little bit more time to Torah study, to doing good deeds, being more charitable. It's gradual, but it's real. We're shifting and changing lanes. For some of us, we might need to make a U-turn. But this particular month allows for both. So don't make a U-turn when you're driving where you're not allowed to. But on the highway leading to heaven, U-turns are accepted and encouraged. Shalom.